You ready, Derek?
Wait, we can go ahead. Sorry. And then as soon as my thing just switches over, I'll switch over and get us live streaming again. But we are recording now, so you can actually begin today's meeting.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone, members and guests alike. Mrs. Peggy Schiller, we're going to open the meeting for the Democratic Bloc Caucus this February 17th, 2022 meeting by Zoom. We're going to divert the agenda today and go straight to Mrs. Peggy Schiller, Congressman for candidate for Congress, U.S. Congress for District 1. And she's going to present to us her views on what she's going to do when she wins the election. Ms. Schiller, thanks for coming, and you have the floor.
Okay, thank you. Well, as Fred just told you, my name is Peggy Schiller. I'm running for Congress in the Florida 1st District to unseat Matt Gaetz. A little bit about me, I was trained as a lawyer. I went to the University of Chicago Law School, where Barack Obama taught. He arrived 1 year after I left, which has always upset me. But anyway, I started out as a litigator in New York, but I really wasn't happy defending large corporations. So I switched and used my training for causes that were near and dear to me. These have been public education, immigrant and refugee rights, and overwhelmingly voter protection. I first got involved in voter protection when a law school professor of mine emailed me and asked me to help start a program of what he envisioned would be a national voter protection plan for somebody who was running for president. Not surprisingly, that somebody ended up being President Barack Obama. After that, I led voter protection teams for the Georgia Democrats during Stacey Abrams' first gubernatorial campaign. And then I got a chance to work with her Fair Fight organization, which, as you know, was instrumental in turning Georgia blue in 2020. Since 2019, I have run voter protection in Walton County. And although I guarantee that my work towards making sure that everyone not only has the right to vote, but can vote easily will remain one of the top important things to me when I'm elected to Congress. Sorry, I've lost my place and that's bad. But anyway, even though I plan on focusing on voter protection for the rest of my life, and we must overturn all the voter bills, restriction bills that have been passed in our state and in so many others recently in this campaign. Since this campaign began, we really have to do something on a national basis and try and get John Lewis's bill passed. I've been focusing on several things: on the environment and protecting our beaches, on the need for affordable housing, and the needs of our veterans and our senior citizens. The first district needs somebody who cares about them and who brings dignity and integrity to this position. Our current congressman has shown absolutely no care for his constituents. If you call his office, you may get a voicemail answering, but you don't get a chance to leave a voicemail in return. Instead, you're directed to an email that you can write to that rarely or ever gets answered. Trust me, I've tried on numerous occasions. When I lived in Atlanta, John Lewis was my congressman. To tell you the truth, this has been a huge downfall moving here after that. Congressman Lewis's office always answered. There was always somebody on the phone, whether they were in Atlanta or they were in DC. Now, most of the time I called his office to thank him for something he'd done, but whether to thank him or complain, I felt that I was always being heard. And that's the type of congressperson I want to be. I promise that my offices will be open all the time. But let's talk about a few of these things. First of all, one of the examples of Matt Gaetz doing nothing is a crisis we're currently facing. You may have heard Mr. Gant and I discussing it a little bit earlier. I don't know whether it's graft or failure on the part of the Florida Public Service Commission when okaying the merger of Gulf Power and Florida Light, but our electricity bills have skyrocketed, as I'm sure you know. Ours in particular has tripled over the last month. I was at a protest on Thursday at Town Hall over this issue, and I talked to a woman who's on disability. She has a 600 square foot apartment, which is not very big. I'm sure you will all agree. And her heating bill went from $104 to $340 in 1 month. That $340 is more than half of the disability payment she receives and has to live on. It's not feasible. People are choosing between medicine and freezing and between heating and eating. And what's Matt Gaetz been doing? Absolutely nothing. As far as I can tell, he made his first public statement on this issue yesterday when he handed a press release to News Channel 3. Like Andrade, he blamed this whole thing on the Biden administration and the passive price of natural gas. Now, really, that's just ridiculous, and we know it's not true. But neither Gaetz nor Andrade have ever mentioned that Florida Power and Light has a parent corporation, Next Era. It's a Fortune 500 company whose eye is only on the bottom line. Nor did they look into the relationship of individuals on the Florida Power Public Service Commission with Next Era Company. Maybe there are some. It seems Gaetz has constantly been more worried about trumped up election lies and other made up scandals than the people of his district. Let's talk about the environment, for instance. I'm not a tree hugger, but there are things happening in our district that are literally killing our citizens. There are multiple Superfund sites in the city of Pensacola alone, and we all know about the borrow pits, for instance, in Wedgwood, that are leaching pollutants into the water. Our citizens are dying. Whole communities are being polluted and destroyed. This has to stop. If I get to Congress, I will fight to make sure that these sites are cleaned up, that the people who are responsible for them are held accountable, and that this type of practice is never allowed again. We also have to look at our beaches. Our beaches are the lifeblood of our economy for the entire coastal community of the Panhandle. If we do not take care of the beaches, keep them safe, keep them clean, and moreover, keep allowing the public onto them, we will soon lose our tourist economy. It's as simple as that. People won't want to visit, and we all lose out. Matt Gaetz, on the other hand, has in his not very active congressional career introduced one bill to Congress. That bill was to try a land grab to steal our public beaches for development. Thankfully to Diane Crummell here and her group, that was stopped. But we have to keep protecting them. Here in Walton County, where I live, we no longer have common use of our beaches, which means only millionaires who have beachfront property have access to most of the beach. We need to overturn that, and we need to ensure that we all get to enjoy the natural resource that has been ours to enjoy since the 1600s. The environment goes hand in hand with development. We are losing our affordable housing at an alarming rate. This is due in great part to uncontrolled development on our beaches and throughout the Panhandle. Our economy cannot be maintained, let alone grow, if people do not have safe, clean places to live at affordable prices. Again, we see that the failure to protect our coastal communities leads to hardship for all. As I've always said, good environmental policy, whether toward the beaches, towards clean air and drinking water, and/or housing and development, is truly sound business policy as well. As far as our children go, we should be embarrassed. I found one statistic that was incredibly alarming to me and should worry everybody here, and I'm sure does. The first congressional district of Florida has the highest percentage of minors, in other words, children, incarcerated in adult prisons. In other words, we are the prime example of the school to prison pipeline, and this has to end. We are failing our children. This should not be acceptable in a civil society. And the change starts in the schools. We have to provide early childhood education for all. And to really start things off in our schools, we have to recruit the best and the brightest of people to teach them. To do that means far more than just paying them a good salary, which we're not doing. We cannot allow our teachers to be restricted as to what they can teach. To understand and avoid the failures of history, we must teach and learn from all of our collective experiences, not just a whitewashed version of the past. The Republicans have made a big deal out of things like critical race theory in our schools. Critical race theory has never been taught anywhere but in law school. They've created bills that prevent subjects that are too uncomfortable to children to be taught in classrooms. Mostly because, again, they want to whitewash history. I was talking with my son about this, and he said, but Mom, the very nature of education is supposed to make you feel uncomfortable. You're learning things new that aren't part of your realm. And the only way to move forward is to first become uncomfortable and to understand. He's right. And I worry about what this is doing to our teachers. Take a low-paying job already stressed with dealing with children and parents, add health concerns due to COVID, and then try and control what they can teach and tell them they'll be in trouble if they say the wrong thing in school. Our teacher shortage will only get worse. I don't know of any young people planning on entering the teaching profession, but I know plenty of people who are planning on retiring early from it. We also have to be concerned about our veterans. This is one statistic we can probably be pretty proud of here in the Panhandle. This district has the highest number of active servicemen, retired veterans, and families related to the military in the country. But the problem is we need to keep the commitments that we as Americans made to those who have served us so well, and that includes healthcare. A few months ago, there was a protest outside of a veterans clinic here in Pensacola. They were upset because there was so much turnover in the doctors at the facility. It totally meant that they had no continuance of care and no possibility for that. And without continuance of care, very serious health problems often get missed. The other problem is, of course, that even though we have the largest percentage of militarily related people in our district, what we don't have is an inpatient veterans hospital. In an era of pandemic, our veterans have had to travel, depending on where they live, between 1.5 to 3 hours to Biloxi, to the nearest Veterans Administration hospital. That just cannot stand. While I'm in Congress, I intend to address those issues as well. And finally, we have to think of our seniors. And the best thing I can say is that I promise to do everything possible to ensure that both Social Security, Medicare, and even Medicaid are protected and not withered away by the Republican Congress. Thank you so much for listening. I promise to represent you all in Congress, but to do that, I need your help. I need you to sign my petition to get me on the ballot. I need you to get your friends and your relatives to sign the petition to get me on the ballot. And I hate to say it, but I also need money to get my name and platform out to as many as possible to convince all Floridians on the Panhandle that I am the right person to represent them. You'd be amazed at what donations of $5, $10, or $20 can achieve. And finally, if you're on the computer, I need you to follow me on Facebook and Twitter if you use them. All our contact stuff is on the chat now. And if you want to see me in person, I can tell you that I will be at the Black History Parade in Defuniak Springs this Saturday, and I will be at Mardi Gras on the 26th. But if you only remember one thing and you want to help me, remember Peggy for the Panhandle. Google it, it will take you straight to our website and our Facebook page and our Twitter. If you want me to email you directly a petition, put your email in the chat and we will send you one right out. Come on, people, we can do this. Let's work together. Let's turn the Panhandle blue. Thank you. And I don't like making long speeches, so if people have questions, I'd be delighted to answer them. No?
Thank you so much for agreeing to come and speak to the caucus. We certainly do appreciate it. It was a wealth of information. We certainly invite you back on behalf of the Democratic Black Caucus of Escambia County anytime that you would like to come, address the body, have information that you'd like to share, any of your upcoming events. We'll be more than happy to have you on just like we did today, and you can share any news
Great.
and exciting information with us. We certainly do appreciate that. I will ask any questions from the floor that anybody has that you would like to address to our candidate at this point.
I have one question for Ms. Schiller. Peggy,
Okay.
Peggy for the, I like that, Peggy for the panhandle, I like that, has a ring to it, Peggy for the panhandle. That's nice, I like that.
Thank you.
Like that, that should go far. One thing is, questions regarding your residence in Escambia County, Florida. I mean, in Northwest Florida, how long you've been lived here continuously? And I know it's been offered on, I believe, but my question really is, how are you going to combat the label they're going to try to put on you that you are new in the area? You're here for the pickings and not a real Northwest Floridian. How are we going to address that in your campaign?
Well, I'm going to be very direct. First of all, I consider myself a Floridian. I was born in Manhattan, but almost right away, my parents moved to the East Coast of Florida. My dad was a rocket scientist, so I grew up on the Space Coast. I went to my first Sunday school class there. I went to preschool, I went to kindergarten, I went to elementary school there. And I was really happy to see that my elementary school, Gemini, is still being used as an elementary school today when I was out there in the fall. But after that, I was very fortunate and I did get to move all over the world and all over the country, but always with the idea of coming back to Florida. My parents said it once, if they said it 100 times, that I had to stand between my toes at too early an age and I would never fully be happy until I went back. As far as my residency now, my husband and I bought a home in Walton County in 2013. We were moving to Atlanta, but we bought a house here rather than in Atlanta because our goal was to figure out how he could work remotely and we could move here full time. We kind of lived here half and half from 2013 to the end of 2018. And then following our longtime goal, we moved here permanently. And I have lived here full time in Walton County since then. And as I said, I've been, since 2019, I've run the voter protection program here. I'm the vice chair of the Walton County DEC right now, and my life has been here. I did not, as some other people did, move here simply to run. In fact, when I moved here, I had no intention of running for Congress. That simply wasn't in my mind. It became in my mind when I saw how the job that Matt Gaetz was doing and how underrepresented, if not represented at all, the entire area was. And I was concerned about other people who were running in the race, quite frankly. But I've been here the whole time. And the other question is, when redistricting does or doesn't happen, if and when I win the congressional election, I will move from Walton County to Pensacola. In fact, having spent so much time in Pensacola recently, I think my husband and I, we've already been discussing it, may very well move to Pensacola, win or lose.
Thank you, your response. It's a question. It's going to come up. You know that.
I know that.
Okay.
Anything else?
Well, thank you for, Derek said earlier, for coming on to be with us, share with us your thoughts, ideas for the district. We appreciate that, and it help all we can.
Thank you.
You know what, Fred, can I ask a real quick question?
Sure, of course, anyone can. Go ahead.
Okay,
Derek.
thank you, Fred, for recognizing me. Peggy, you touched on affordable housing. That is such a really critical issue here in Escambia County, in our community. So much to the fact that it leads many to homelessness. Many people are one paycheck away from being homeless. Florida Power and Light, with what they're doing now with their rates. I mean, I've read stories that are going on now about this, and I cry about this. I cried about it the other day. I could not believe it. All these horror stories that people and seniors on fixed income, and and people that are struggling to make ends meet. But what do you see as a solution? I mean, when they talk about affordable housing here in Escambia County, it comes to me that, oh wow, those are $400,000, $300,000, $400,000, $500,000, $600,000 homes. People working full time just can't do that. So I mean, I think it all ties in with having a living wage. But what are your plans, to fix those problems here in our community, especially in our underserved communities, that are struggling, with affordable housing? You drive around our communities, there's so much neglect and things that need to be fixed. So could you just briefly touch on that, what you would do
Sure.
about affordable housing here?
Sure. I think one of the main things is in any area where there's so much growing development, we need to work with the city of Pensacola, with Escambia County, with the state, and with the federal government to put in development rules that if you're going to develop, and this is done many places, if you're going to develop a certain either acreage or a certain number of units, you have to also develop part of that community to be affordable housing. Now, we're not talking low income Section 8 housing. We're talking about affordable housing for people who work hard and should be able to pay for that housing. So I think that's part of it. The other part is there is a problem of that I've read about, that landlords are beginning to see that maybe their home is worth more than they thought, or their building. So they're ending leases, kicking good paying tenants out in order to revamp the building and sell it and take advantage of the high prices. So I think we need to work on laws that guarantee stability in housing. In other words, if you have been a good tenant, and I believe in landlord tenant protection, even if you haven't been able to pay your rent, but that's another issue for another day. That you cannot simply end a lease because you want to sell the home at an increased value. You can sell the home perhaps, but the house has to be kept as a tenancy for a certain period of time. There are a lot of ways you can deal with that, and I would feel that my job as a congressman would be to work with the local people to change that type of housing regulation so that you wouldn't find somebody who has paid their rent on time through COVID, throughout COVID, works hard, is suddenly kicked out of their home because of the end of their lease term, and now there's nowhere else at that rental point that they can afford to move to. So it's creating affordable housing that is there and preventing people from being kicked out of the affordable housing they're in.
Thank you. Thank you. Derek, I can't see all the guests. Derek, can you see everyone? Want to raise their hand to speak? Would you recognize them, Garrett? Because I can't see
I
everyone.
will.
I mean,
I don't
Derek.
know if anybody has any additional questions. If they do, please make sure you indicate as such. But I do have a question for you. One of the things that has been a hot topic of discussion here in Escambia County has been the recent attention that has been brought to the community of Wedgwood with the landfill that should be inactive, but everyone knows it's still active, and all of the
about this or about
and all of the
sure.
I'm sorry, I'm gonna mute which second so we don't have the back. All of the issues that have been created from a health perspective for all the residents of the Wedgwood community. What do you see as your role if elected as congressman to help mitigate that in terms of closing the landfill site if you see fit, and or making accommodations for the residents, whether it be better air monitors, home monitors in the house, as well as the water filtration system?
Okay. I will tell you what I know so far, and I admit I'm not technically as up to it as I would like to be, but from what I understand, we need sort of a multifaceted approach to the borrow pits in Wedgwood, among other places. One, of course, is to just stop the policy, and that doesn't really help Wedgwood, but we need to federally stop the ability for people to do this. But for Wedgwood particularly, I think everything you said is part of it. One is taking and getting an accurate count of what the health issues have been. I think they've been poo-pooed and no one has done a really valid study yet, from what I understand, that really just quantifies how much health disturbance there has been, so that they no longer can say, well, this is all, hearsay, we don't really know. We need to make it clear that we do know, and this is what has happened. As far as, mitigating, we have to use best practices to clean the place up. That has to be done, I think, under federal control. We need to make sure that the EPA is funded and that the right people are the ones in charge of cleaning up the site. And I am never one to try and talk about what I don't know. How you physically do that, I need to learn more about. I'm very sure of. And as far, I think at that point, we then need to look at who's responsible. And I guess I am a lawyer at heart. I think we need to hold them financially accountable. And I think the people who live in Wedgwood and have suffered from this need to have the option of either moving out of the neighborhood, which I know they don't want to do, or being given a fiscal remedy to help remedy their homes, their wells, or the entire water service as it is. It's kind of funny. 30 some years ago, my mother lived in an area outside of DC where a lot of congressmen and judges and senators lived. And about a mile from that neighborhood was an oil farm, which was very unusual. It had been built when it was out in the Virginia country, and nobody thought anybody would ever live there. And eventually people did. And the oil leaked into the water. So I had to help my mother, who was a widow, deal with this issue. And we did deal with it as the community dealt with it in many ways. One, they did know precisely, it was much easier. They could look and say Texaco was responsible. So that was who was held responsible. We worked with the EPA on what the standards were to clean up the water aquifers and make sure the oil left, for consistent monitoring for something like 40 years afterwards. The monitoring is still going on to make sure that the water is still clean, and that type of a procedure needs to be in place in Wedgwood. And then they had different offers for different people whose houses had been affected differently. But all of it was to make them whole as best you can from any health issues or death, and to keep their property value up. They also the settlement agreement ended up putting a lot of money into the neighborhood and advertising the neighborhood so that nobody suffered from oh, that's Mantua, nobody wants to live there, they're contaminated. All of those things can be done to help Wedgwood, but the first thing has to be to clean it up and get it out and monitor what's going on from now on. I don't know if that helps.
Thank you for that. We do have one other question from one of our guests, Edna Sanders. If you can, go ahead and unmute and ask your question.
Hi.
Hi.
Thanks for being here.
You're
And
most welcome.
my question is, I'll just be brief, but my question is, we need to get our young people involved in the voting process. And you mentioned that our young people, we're losing them. So one way that we have to definitely keep or get our young people involved is to get them involved in knowing and understanding the power of the vote, of the power of their vote, the power of the Black vote, to be so blunt. But
Absolutely.
so my question is to you is, have you thought about that, and what are you going to do to get these young people engaged in the voting process, and so that they understand exactly what's going on and what could happen if they don't? I'll mute my thing.
Okay. Yeah, I will be honest, I have not given thought to specifically the young people, but it's a wonderful, wonderful question, because we do need to get our young people involved. A lot of it has to do with constant contact. They need to be taught about voting. They need to be taught about what their voting rights are. They need to be shown what it's like in school. That has to be the first place. Then they also have to have examples. They have to see their communities coming together and voting. I know in Georgia, what Stacy was able to do was go sort of little community by little community, talk to everybody and convince them that they should all participate, that we only have a successful democracy if it's a participative democracy. So I think a lot needs to be done with going into the schools and going into the neighborhoods and talking to people and getting the young people involved in campaigns and politics, if you will, even before they can vote. They can see what protesting does to help them. They can learn about what knowledge about different issues does to help them, how they can contact their elected officials, whether it be a county council person or the president of the United States, how they will successfully contact them and perhaps even interact with them so that their voices are heard. But the only way that that succeeds is if we also get results from that. So we as adults have to practice what we preach and vote and get out and protect the vote and encourage people to vote and bring our young people in with us. Do vote and have discussions,
We can
you
echo.
know,
She
even
spoke.
at a ball game or why you're acting. What? Sorry, I thought.
I think the signal was lagging just a little bit towards the end of your question. Yeah, we heard we need to, and they kind of went out.
Oh, okay. I think all I was saying is I think we all need to bring the young people in with us and to discuss with them. For instance, Edna, to the young people in your life, you need to talk with them about why being involved in the Black Caucus is so vitally important and why you vote. And times when you think your vote has changed things. You know, I was there when we were so close in 2018 to electing a Black governor of Georgia, who's one of the most brilliant women I've ever had the pleasure of meeting. And I think she's going to win, despite all the nonsense about Democrats are going to lose. I think you're going to see Georgia stay blue. And it's because everybody became convinced that it was worthwhile to do this. And that's what we need to do again. We need to get everybody who can vote out voting in this election and bringing our young people along to do that. And they can go door to door and talk to people. They can get petitions signed. They can be so involved, even if they aren't yet 18 and have the right to vote. The other thing is, which is another long, I don't know, it says my internet connection is unstable, is working on this school to prison pipeline and ending it is very important, because people have to think that if something happens and they do get caught up in the prison system, when they get out, they still have their right to vote. And that's a big issue here in Florida, which is a discussion for another day. But I strongly feel that once people have served their time, they need to be able to vote. And thus, it would give our kids who are currently in the system at least some hope that they can be active citizens when they get out.
Thank you, Ms. Schiller. Thank you very much. Anyone else there who wants to speak?
You're welcome.
The hands raised. Mr. Scott.
I do believe that covers everyone there. If there are no more questions, again, we do thank you for your time. You're free to stick around for the remainder of our meeting, but we certainly do appreciate the time. For those who have missed it, who may have come in a little later, we are recording this meeting, so I can post the video on Facebook, a link to, and send it out if anybody wants to review the content going forward. So thank you, Kenneth, for your time.
Thank you, Derek, very much. Thank you, Michelle, again. We're going to take our meeting as is on the agenda, sent out earlier, I think yesterday for the meeting. We're going to, at this juncture, say our pledge allegiance, as we always do, in unison, if you will. If anyone, are you ready to go with that?
Yeah,
okay.
Go ahead.
I pledge allegiance to the flag, to the United States of America,
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. We say also a prayer in our meetings. We honor the Father. Sandra, you on board, Sandra, at the meeting? Sandra's our prayer resource person. Sandra, you there?
Can I just ask?
In choir rehearsal, sorry. Can't help you tonight.
For a point of clarification, last meeting we did, and I'll just ask going forward, if we could instead, just to make sure we're as inclusive as possible, just take bar heads for a moment of silence so that we incorporate those who may have a faith other than Christianity as well.
Okay, so that's well received, Derek. I like that suggestion. So we shall do that. But here's in a moment of silence, if you would please. Thank you. Amen. Okay. We've heard from Mrs. Schiller. I want to thank Derek Scott for setting up the candidate forum tonight for us, Derek, because he always does a good job. He's our resident Zoom and tech guy. He does a great job. And Ms. Schiller, again, for coming on board to our meeting. Next, approval of the agenda. We have one addition to the agenda. This is Black History Month, so we need to celebrate Black history. Want to add that item to the agenda, a Black history presentation by Derek Scott. Add to the agenda. Need to vote on that. Take a motion to add that item to the agenda, if you will. So want to make a motion to do so. Get a second, then we'll vote.
So moved.
Get a second on that item to add Black history presentation to our agenda for the next meeting. Need a second to do that. Someone give us a second by someone to add that to the agenda. Black history presentation by Derek.
Second that, please, or Ms. McCorvey, either one.
I second the motion.
Okay, who's the second? We had a Black history presentation to our meeting, performed by Mr. Derek Scott. Those in favor say aye or raise your hand.
Aye.
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 Those opposed by the same sign. Thank you. I'm going to have that presentation at this point. I'm going to divert the agenda to have that presentation. How long is your item, Derek?
About 4 minutes and 13 seconds, provided that it works appropriately.
Okay, go for it, Mrs. Go for it, please.
Thank you. I'm going to share my screen. I think the problem I had earlier is trying to share my screen and live stream at the same time, and that was a no-go. So if for some reason it doesn't work, I'll switch over to our Black Caucus. I've got it queued there as well. But let me go ahead and share this now. Please tell me if you're having difficulty or you cannot see my screen. I'm going to go ahead and do this. Just in honor of Black History Month, we did not want February to pass without recognizing all of the contributions set forth by individuals of color, particularly Black individuals and those and so forth. So we've had, as you know, if you've been following the Escambia County Democratic Black Caucus, as well as Escambia Democratic Party and Okaloosa Democratic Party, we've been posting every day highlights and key notables for Black history. You know, and this is only a month that consists of 28 days, but we need to make sure that we are recognizing that not only is it Black history, but it is American history. So I wanted to take the time, in addition to those things that we're publishing on a daily basis online on Facebook and on Instagram and Twitter, I did want to bring to you some additional individuals that may not be familiar to each of you, but certainly worth recognition. Let me go ahead and start by saying I do apologize. There's a music voiceover. If you know anything about PowerPoint, the music cuts off every time the slide transitions. So without further ado, I'll go ahead and bring that up for us now. Bear with me, I apologize, I'm sorry. There we go.
You can't find a fighter, but I see it in you, so we gon' walk it out. Ooh, mountains. We gon' walk it out, and mountains. And I'll rise like the day. silence isn't quiet, and it feels like it's getting hard to breathe. And I know you feel like dying, but I promise we'll take the world to its feet. Ooh, mountains, bring it to its feet. Ooh, mountains. And I'll rise like the day. I'll rise up, I'll rise unafraid. I'll rise up, and I'll do it 1,000 times again. All we need is hope, and for that we have each other, and for that we have each other. And we will rise, we will rise, we will rise. We'll rise. I'll rise up, rise like the day. I'll rise up. In spite of the ache, I will rise 1,000 times again. And we'll rise up, I like the waves. We'll rise up, in spite of the ache. We'll rise up, and we'll do it 1,000 times again.
And again, just want to emphasize, this is your history. This is my history. This is our history. This is American history. Thank you for taking the time to watch that brief presentation highlighting individuals that may not come out on everyday news, but certainly are pioneers in their industries.
Thank you, Derek, so much for that presentation. It was very, very, very well done. Thank you. Thank you a bunch, my brother. And let's get Derek, and also those involved in the presentation, those leaders and those who are got new heights for our community. Give them a round of applause. Please, let's give Derek and the people a round of applause. Please do that for me. That's important that we give people their accolades while they're here, and they acknowledge what they do. It's very important to keep them motivated and they keep doing what they do for us, for all of us. Thank you again, Derek. Go to the agenda as printed. We had the Zoom roll call. Derek does that by virtue of knowing who's on the call. Do we have a quorum, Derek? Is there a quorum present?
I believe we do, yes. But as we could, I do want to take a moment because we didn't do so in the beginning, and I apologize, to welcome everybody. And certainly we have a lot of visitors from our neighboring counties of Santa Rosa, Okaloosa, and even some of those who have established their membership for the first time for the Escambia Democratic Black Caucus. So I want to say welcome to those, but we do have quorum.
Okay. Great, super. Next thing, the approval of our minutes in the last few months have not been approved officially at our prior meeting due to certain COVID situation, other things. We want to get to the process of get back on track. Approve the September, October, November meetings of the minutes for those for 3 months, those three months, and next month we'll do the other 3 months that are missing from the officially approved minutes of our meetings. So if I can get a motion to approve the minutes for October, November, and September, October, November, that'd be great. And a second on the same, let's get that part done for our records.
I'll make a motion, Diane Cromwell, that we accept the minutes as presented.
I'll second that.
Move the second that we accept and approve the minutes for this month of September, October, November 2021. Any question? Those in favor say aye or raise your hand. Those who oppose by the same sign. The motion carries. Okay. Next item is the treasury report. Ms. Barbara Petty, if you're on the line, Barbara, you're prepared to give out at least our balance in the account and any expenses that we've had or any addition to the account in the last month.
Barbara was on. I don't see her on. I don't know if she got kicked off or disconnected. So you may want to move past that one, and we'll see. Give her time to come back on and join us.
Okay. Next item is the technology report by Derek Scott. You want to enlighten us, Derek, as you would, please, to the extent that you need to. Any things that the membership need to know. We got new members here and other folks who may want to get involved in what we're doing. You want to share with them, if you will, anything that need to be said at this point?
Yeah, certainly. So as everybody knows, I just want to make sure that you're all aware that we do have an online presence. Escambia as well. I'll just say the Panhandle in totality. Northwest Florida, that would include the Democratic parties as well as Black caucuses for Okaloosa, Santa Rosa, Escambia, Bay, and Walton have all received state recognition for the work that we're doing with regard to our messaging and our online presence regarding its consistency and the content that we push on a daily basis. So I want to congratulate, and everybody should feel proud. If you do not know, we do have 2 Facebook presence online. You can either look for the Facebook page, which is the Escambia County Democratic Party. You can find it on Facebook. We also have a Facebook profile that you can actually friend and interact and keep up with those as well. And that's listed under the profile name, like yours would be, like mine is Derek Scott. The profile name would be Escambia DBC. So if you're not already friends with Escambia DBC, please look us up on Facebook and follow us there. We also have an Instagram page, and that is ECDBC1. You can find us there, as well as Twitter for those who may be engaged on that platform there. We are also there in the, I've forgotten just that fast, give me 1 second, the Twitter handle for the Black Caucus. We are ECDBC_. So at ECDBC_. You can find us there. And lastly, and I will put all this information in the chat during the meeting as well, you can find us on YouTube if you are interested in watching any of the past meetings. All of our meetings, as usual, are recorded and they are posted to the platform there. Please make sure you like and share there as well. And that you can find us under Escambia Democratic Black Caucus. But again, I will put the YouTube address in the chat as well in just a moment. But everything so far is so good. So we're going to continue. If you are interested in seeing anything from the past, like we back in December, I alluded to it in our past meeting, but we have clips from the Lord, what am I trying to say? Leadership Blue, where Representative Jim Clyburn addressed the Florida Democratic Party. The speech was moving. It's on my personal Facebook page on the, if you scroll back down to, it's got a lot of posts, but if you scroll down to the 5th of December, and I'll try to move it up to the top as well if you're interested, so you can see that as well. That's there. And the meet and greet that the Democratic Black Caucus of Florida had with Senator Congresswoman Val Demings, hopefully Senator Val Demings, if all works out well. That was successfully done and held during the Leadership Blue as well. And you can find that on the Escambia County Democratic Black Caucus's Facebook page as well. So those are some of the things that we've got going on. And I think that will conclude my report. So I'll turn it over to President Gann at this time.
Thank you, Derek. Appreciate that. Very good report. We're going to go on the old business. Time is getting short at 7 o'clock already, nearly 7 o'clock. The old business state quarterly meeting was by Zoom. It was in, I think, January. I'm proud to announce that both Derek, Sandra, and myself all attended the meeting by Zoom. So your caucus was well represented in that meeting. We did for the purpose of redoing the bylaws, the state bylaws that was completed, voted on at that meeting, Zoom meeting, this quarterly meeting.
Point of clarification, it was completed. We have not yet voted on it. We'll be voting on it at this upcoming March.
Okay, it was completed, which is the real task. Took some time to get that done. Real tedious work, but the members of the executive board, statewide executive board, stuck to the guns and got it done. As Derek indicated, they're going to wrap it up, to present it for us in a proper packaging, and submit that to each local caucus or the executive board at some point real soon, and be voted on. Is it next month, Derek, in March? Is the plan?
Yes, so we have, everything has been, took us several quarters to get this completed, but like President Gantz said, we have successfully completed the bylaws. It will go through vote here in March for the executive committee, March 5th meeting. And once that is complete, we will then go and the entire body, which is all of the membership, will then get a chance to look and vote accordingly during our June timeframe, which we'll be having our conference and our normal business meeting as well.
That being with Jacksonville, is that correct? The March
June is Orlando as well.
The March meeting is in Orlando.
No, March is Orlando. June is Orlando as well.
Okay. Love that Mickey Mouse. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, March is at everything will be taking place at for those who have been before at the Roseland Shingle Creek Hotel.
Okay, very nice hotel, very nice property. Thank you, Derek. We can go next to the voter registration education projects. Let me say, first of all, one thing we did back in this month, in January, MLK celebration, we manned a voter registration booth at the MLK Day outside of behind doors, Health to Hear property. And I want to applaud Ms. Sarah Randolph. She joined us in that effort. Sarah, Derek was also present for the voter registration, myself, Ava Floyd, one of my part-time workers, and Sarah Randolph came like a real trooper to assist us. And Sarah, you're still on the call. I want to thank you for helping us out. Thank you very much.
You're very welcome. My pleasure.
Thank you. So we also had an education project effort at the Black Super Bowl gospel concert at Dillon's Tabernacle Church back in January the 8th. It went off very well. We was there present with two of the DEC members, and they was very helpful in that project. We would thank for their support. Didn't get many registrations done, but they was there. Our president was there. We talked about voting and registration for the upcoming elections, so people know we on board. We out there trying to make a difference, and that was important to do that. And those are two events we had this past quarter, if you will. Going forward, we also met with Derek and I met with the Black Mystery Alliance last month to start working on a project to hopefully have voter education and registration stations posted in churches at particular times, at particular points on a continual basis. So if someone wants to register to vote, get educated what the new rules are, they'll know that someone will be there at a specific time at that church for their purposes. After church, before church, it could be some other time on a Wednesday night or whatever the time are, but we got a plan to work with Dr. Hayes with the Voters League and also Ben Durant, NACP. And we're still trying to work with those guys now to develop a plan with that we can all get together. It's not about who gets credit, in my opinion. It's about getting the job done and winning in November. DC will be involved and make sure that they've passed rules to try to limit our participation. Republicans has. Those are the rules now that we're dealing with until they get overturned by the higher court. but while they're there, we need to plan and overcome what they put in our way as obstacles, and overcome those obstacles the best way we can, because we can't say it's not fair. We got to make it work anyway. So that's the overall import of this kind of project, to do to get done what they think we can get done and make it work. So be more reports on that later on. Derek and Sandra will be helping me on this project going forward, working with the other groups. Next time is a fundraiser. We discussed that last time, but I'm kind of out of ideas. The COVID-19 sort of shut down the temporarily effort to have event at Sheila's place on Cervantes. The can't think of the name of her.
Personal.
It's first by Sheila. Thank you, Derek. By Sheila, an event there. We're still working trying to get that organized, if you will. But if anyone has a different fundraiser, but everybody can chime in, contact me, contact Sandra, contact Derek, bring it to the next meeting beforehand, please. And we're not limited to ideas on fundraiser. Anyone has a good one, please share. We're open to ideas as an organization. So no one has a monopoly on ideas. Like no monopoly on ideas. So please share with us going forward. We need to raise some money. Next one is the important one is membership renewal and chapter renewal. It's currently going on. Is Derek and Barbara is working on that in terms of communicating, getting ready to get that report done in late later this month. You want to give comments about that process, Derek, and progress and process so far?
Yes, so far, I just want to highlight, thank you to everybody who has either joined for the first time or renewed their membership. Please make sure, if you have not yet done so, there's still time. We need to have everything in to the Democratic Black Caucus of Florida by the end of the month, the 28th of February. So we're going to start wrapping up and sending everything no later than the 25th of February. So if you can, please make sure that you take the time to fill out the application. If you don't have it, guess what? I've already put it in the chat. So you can go ahead. It is a PDF download. You can open the PDF, fill it out. The instructions are on the application for you to send it back. The PO box is PO box, I believe it's 206, Pensacola, Florida 32591 is the zip code. You can make your checks payable to the Escambia County Democratic Black Caucus. And for those unclear, individuals 65 and over have a dues membership fee of $30. Individuals who are enrolled in continuing education courses or in college, university, Pensacola State University, West Florida College, whatever, those same dues apply. The dues are $30, and everybody else, that total amount is $50. So luckily, if you know of anybody, please share that application. We are trying to grow our membership so that we can continue to bring quality programming to the organization, and we certainly would like to make sure that everybody's input is heard. And just so I said it before, I'll continue to say it. The name of the organization is the Escambia County Democratic Black Caucus, but that does not mean that you have to be Black to join the caucus. We have quite a few non-Black members, and we are appreciative for them, and we continue to invite more. So please don't let that hinder you from joining if you're not already a member, and we'd like to see you. And thanks for that. So again, the 25th, the application is in the chat. If you need additional information, please contact me directly, or I'll put my information in the chat as well, and we can move forward from there.
Thank you, Derek. Let me say too that I want to quick comment about one of our guest members tonight / members tonight and their she was over earlier with the question. And years or so ago, we unfortunately, I mean, some people of our rows that actually have paid the dues. They erred on my part as president. I take the slack for it, but we could correct those discrepancies going forward. Get a solid membership list going forward, and as Derek said, continue to grow. Anything we need to do. But I want to thank Anna for chiming in with very short notice, if she's still on the call. Next thing on the agenda is the new business. Again, like Derek said, mail your membership application to our PO box. It's on the application. That way Barbara can pick it up on her own. She has the keys to the PO box. Make sure that if you mail it into the box, she'll get it first. She'll share with Derek and Sandra and I. So we have no hiccups in terms of who applied, who paid, and so forth, and during this cycle, membership cycle. Next thing is project going forward. If anyone knows of any event that's going to come up, a church event, community event coming up real soon, please let us know through the Facebook page. Give me a Derek or Sandra a call. You can plan, or even give Lil a call. We can have someone there for voter registration education. It's a team effort. We got a different caucuses, but we all got the same goal. We get the Democrats elected in November. So if anyone has a event coming up, this public event, that we can attend a table or go and do some registration education at the event, please let us know. With that being said, on March 30th, for the record, the AME Zion Church for this district is having a big event on Saturday, April 30th. So get ready for that, members. We want to be on site for that event. This is an all-day event that can be held at the Belmont Devilla Eddie Town building and at Reverend John Powell's building across from Five Sisters. So we could hopefully participate in that event early on. I maybe walk the neighborhood for some neighborhood walking also. It'd be a good venue to get some things done at that point in time. So I want to share it with you guys now. So again, it's important you had an event going on. That was kind of hard to think all the time, but get in your mindset to think about what's happening in your community, your neighborhood, and then call us, and we'll be there with some people with the voting, education, and registration projects. It's very important to do that. Again, I want to ask everyone to applaud them to also support the DEC when they have their projects or the Women's Caucus or whatever. We are one group, one mission, many groups but one mission as we go down this road, because it's vital that we turn the Escambia County blue. We get Mass get out of the Congress out of the seat this year, and we have a Democratic governor. That is really, really important. Read the news, watch the news, you know why, as we all do. Preach it to the choir now. With that being said, getting late, Derek, you got any announcement about the Democratic Party as a whole? Events coming up, you want to share that with us?
Well, I did not necessarily as a whole, but I did want to share that we've talked about it, but I want to make sure that everybody is aware, and I put it in the chat. Masks the free N95 masks are starting to make their way to Pensacola, and we are seeing that they are available. I know specifically they have them at leaps and bounds at the both the Walgreens and CVS. They're located opposite at the intersection of Beverly Parkway, Brent Lane. I'm not sure which one it is at that point. I'll say it's Beverly Parkway because it's on that side of the street. And Palafox or Highway 29. They're opposite of each other. So they have a 3 mask limit per person. And they are now, I guess they're seeing that people are coming in and multiple times to get multiple masks. So you can only take 3. If you have more than 3, they are going to call you out. So just make sure you bring somebody else with you so you can pick up more than 3. If you have a household of 4, everybody needs to be in attendance in order to pick them up. You can check the other Walgreens and CVS's as well. I know some of them have run out. Walmart and Winn-Dixie both they also have them as well. And lastly, we've talked about it, but I just want to remind everybody, if they have not already, to make sure that you order your COVID tests. The federal government is giving up to 4 free kits. So you can order those. That's at covidtest.gov. Or if you have difficulty accessing the website, you can call 1-800-232-0233. All of this information is in the chat as well. And you can order your 4 kits. I will say, because of the weather, the variation in the weather, it has delayed the shipping of some of the COVID tests. I know I didn't receive mine until last week, and I ordered mine on the first day. So hopefully, as the weather starts to get warmer, that will start to speed up. Just so you're clear, the COVID tests have to be kept at a certain temperature. So these freezing temperatures that we've had have not been viable for the kits to be shipped. So certainly make sure that you've ordered those tests if you have not already. And that's all I have. And I did see that Lil had her hand up.
Lil?
Yeah, I just wanted to bring up 2 or 3 things. First of all, for those of you who haven't been following the redistricting changes, I wanted to let you know that some of those redistricting changes are going to give us a boost. The most important one for us, I think, locally is that the redistricting of County Commission District 2, the way that it's gone is that precinct 105, which is Perdido Key, Inner Point, and all that, is going to be switched to County Commission District 1, which will take about 3,000 Republicans to District 1 and only about 900 Democrats. And we also are adding precincts 61, 75, and 99 to District 2. And when I use the numbers from the end of January, if we had continued with the districts the way they were in District 2, there would be 15% more Republicans registered than Democrats. But with these changes, there's only going to be 10% more Republicans than Democrats. And so that has increased our percentage of opportunity a great deal. And that also means, by the way, that there's 24% non-party affiliates in that district. So that gives us some opportunities. And we've been talking to some people who I hope are going to be running for office in District 2. One of them has pre-filed. Ray Guillory is going to run for School Board District 2. And if Ray wins, then we could have a majority vote of Democrats on the school board, 3-2. So we want to be reaching out in District 2 to try to get people registered to vote and try to get people interested in election and running for office. One other thing, Fred, you were talking about fundraisers. I am going to be talking, we're going to have a Democratic umbrella meeting soon. And I would like y'all's input because I'd like to do a film screening. It might be more than one film, but I'd like it to be films that deal with voting rights that we can get for cheap or free, that we could have a film screening someplace to charge money for. And those be about things like the Freedom Riders and getting people registered to vote and those kinds of things. So those great movies that you've seen that have inspired you, we'd like to be able to have some ideas of films that we might be able to use and raise some money that way, and also raise some awareness of the fact that people have been fighting for voting rights, and it's time to fight some more here. So if you have any ideas, please share them with Derek or myself, and we'll be letting you know more about that as time goes by.
Thank you, Lil. That's a great idea. Those films about voting struggles back in the 60s and 70s, that's a great idea because they are motivating and they are encouraging to fight on, to keep the fight up.
And I think we could encourage, people to bring their children, young people who aren't really aware of what took place. I remember one time there was a film about Robert Kennedy on TV, and my kids, they were showing the fire hoses on the children in Birmingham at the riots there, and they said people didn't really do that, did they, Mom? And I said, oh yeah, they did. Sick the dogs on them and all that. So yes, I think younger people need to be more aware of what went on. So
I agree.
And we can make some money. So
well, thank you, Leo, very much. Thank you very much, Leo. Okay, well, anything else? Next meeting is going to be March 17th, the third Thursday.
I'm sorry, before you move on, Diane seemed to have something.
Oh, sure. Of course.
I just want to say real quick that Samantha Hope Herring and myself are working to get Val Demings to come to Pensacola. We thought she was going to come in February and then March, but now it looks like April. So I just want to give y'all a heads up that we are working to get hopefully our next senator here in Pensacola. So that'll be really exciting. So I just want to give y'all a heads up.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much, Diane. Anything else? I can't see Derek, but you can.
No, that's fine.
Anyone else wants to
I
make a
think
comment?
that's it. I just want to remind everybody to make sure, if you haven't already, please update your voter registration. You may have had eligibility and success in voting in our prior election, but due to all the laws that we've talked about ad nauseum, certainly you want to make sure that you've updated it. If you have a need to update it, please reach out to me or the Democratic Party headquarters office, and we can get those forms. You can find us also at Grocery Advantage, any one of the 5 locations in Escambia County, usually on the 1st and the 15th. Is that right, Lil? Is that the best time? Or Maryland, am I accurate on that? So 1st and 15th. And for those who love to go to Inglewood all in one, you can find somebody there as well as you walk in to get your food at Inglewood Missionary Baptist Church. So certainly make sure you update the registration, and that would be most helpful to you and to everybody.
Thank you, Derek. I want to also thank Jill for attending our meeting. She's been real faithful in doing that as a state officer. As a fellow Northwest Floridian, Jill, thank you for your guidance and support of our caucus. I appreciate your time, taking the time to be with us, and when you do. Thank you very much. Any other state officials on the line, Derek? I don't know who they are as well as you do.
No, I think everybody, they unfortunately, those that were on had to sign off because they had a executive board meeting with gubernatorial candidate Annette today.
Okay,
So I
thank
think they're all online there for that.
Okay. Thank you. Again, the next meeting is March 17th, 6 o'clock by Zoom at 6 o'clock p.m. And nothing else for the body tonight. I'll just take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Okay, second.
Second by Linda Scott.
Okay, great. Thank you for that being the case. We don't need to vote on that. I think that's an acclamation. And again, thank you very much for attending and taking your time to be with us tonight, and have a good evening, and God bless you.
Good night, everyone. Good to see you.
Bye.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night. Chris Carey. No.